From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane. Steve and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
It's here. It's here. We are here.
We are back.
The whole world is here.
Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
He's back, but that's
Look, I had to step away because everyone was telling me that Steve was the main guy, the famous one. Do you know what I mean? I had to give him some limelight.
Casualty.
Yeah, you haven't tuned into the wrong place. It is Casualty theme tune that we're playing.
Just picture Rye on the bed getting wheeled into the ambulance now with his dislocated shoulder.
Go on, give us the picture. Paint the pictures for us, Rye. What are you looking like sitting there this morning?
I'm okay. I'm laying here next to Botman, and I've looked over. I said, "How are you, mate? You know, in here again." And he said, "Yeah, mate, you?" And I said, "Look, I'm all right." You know what I mean? And he told me that he's going to be back soon, but I think I might beat him. So, we're doing no good. All good.
Dave,
Thank
he's
you so
like
much.
Brian Robson.
That's it. And he's a true Borough fan. I mean, you know, some fans have facials done to or haircuts cut a certain way to look like they're heroes. Others, you know, might get the odd tattoo. Rye goes whole hog and wants to emulate Brian Robson by dislocating his shoulder.
I was. And I was asking, I actually sent a message to Riley saying if he's got a spare one, could he send it over? So we'd love to have Riley's shoulder now. So we'll see. Maybe, you know, I can keep going.
Just to complete the picture on the lineup this morning, here I am sitting having tested positive for COVID as well. So, Steve, we've got to find you an affliction, mate. I know supporting Newcastle.
Mate.
Supporting Newcastle's a big affliction
That's
anyway.
enough, isn't it?
Yeah, all right, well, okay then, that's fair enough. So, it is the North East Footy Breakfast. We haven't heard from Mackie yet. He's just sitting there chortling about us falling apart.
I'm sitting there laughing at myself, yeah. It's good to have a full compliment. Good to have Rye back because we were concerned.
Yeah.
Good to have a full cohort. I think cohort's the word, isn't it?
I had to give Steve the one day to shine. Do you know what I mean? It can't be.
Well,
it's a lot of people saying that, you know, look, you know, will Steve and Rye work? Well, you know, we need to see how Steve goes without Rye. But I think it's obvious now.
We've got a nice tweet saying it was the best show ever.
I know.
It was the best show ever.
It's probably because it's all Toon talk, mate. That's why.
Fantastic.
No one to you know, get back at him. All right, but I'm back today. Don't you worry. And there'll be plenty of Middlesbrough stuff.
It wasn't all Toon talk, and we were talking about the Black Cats as well, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. We've got to give the championship a little bit of recognition when Rye's not here.
Hey, Rye, don't worry, mate. I held up the Borough end quite badly because I was sounding like Rod Stewart.
In fact, someone has to.
In fact, I broke out into a song yesterday. You missed it.
You did?
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Did a bit of Maggie May.
What type of, was it Danny Minogue? Oh, no, really?
Careful. No, I didn't break out into Danny Minogue. It was a bit of Rod Stewart. I think it was Maggie May I was singing.
Rod Stewart?
Yeah, because the voice was a bit gravelly with COVID coming on. Little did we know it was COVID.
Well, it's obviously gone through the station there.
Yeah.
Apparently there's
before you start singing again, Dave, should we do the headlines?
If you want it. I was just going to give you an update on COVID now. You know, now it's relevant. 1.1 million people at the moment in the UK with COVID, so we're back up to those numbers again.
There's a bit of a thing again, is there?
Yeah, well,
we're not too bad in Australia at the moment, but that's not good to hear.
Yeah, it's sweeping through Europe apparently, but no, I mean, there's none of this isolation. I mean, employers are encouraging people to come into work with COVID.
We'll ever see that again.
It's being treated like the common cold now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Steve's really keen.
As long as the football doesn't get stopped.
To get back onto football.
He wants to get onto football. He wants to leave the casualty ward and enter into the dressing room.
I want to hear. I've missed your voice, Steve. I've missed everything. Do you know what I mean? I want to hear how our Saudi Arabian.
Newcastle United's Lewis Hall is in contention for the 2023 Golden Boy Award. It's the first time I've heard of it, but he is in contention for it. As you know, the 18-year-old arrived at St James's Park on loan after winning Chelsea's Academy Player of the Year award in 2023. He's up against the likes of Real Madrid's Jude Bellingham, Barcelona's Alejandro Balde, and Bayern Munich's Jamal Musiala. This award was introduced in 2003, apparently. The Golden Boy Award. It crowns Europe's most promising young footballer footballer under 21, and there has been 2 winners from England. The first was Wayne Rooney, and the second was Raheem Sterling. And Newcastle United's one of the biggest critics, somebody who certainly does this for clicks, I think, is Gabriel Agbonlahor. His assessment: should it be taken at face value? Eddie Howe should consider himself warned, he says, after the top 4 finish last season. Howe's Newcastle, of course, have lost 3 in the last 4 league matches, and there is the added Champions League expectations. So the big question that Gabby is asking is, should Howe produce the desired results? If not, then what? According to Agbonlahor, the owners at Newcastle won't hang around, and if it doesn't look good, then Howe is going to be out on his ear. He reckons it's tough times ahead for Eddie Howe. And a special get well soon to somebody who is a good pal of mine, Steve Harper. Did manage to get in touch with him yesterday.
Yeah, go on that. Yeah.
The Newcastle Academy director suffered a stroke on Monday. The club released a statement saying that the 48-year-old was awake and recovering well in hospital. The former goalkeeper, of course, is a club legend. He spent 20 years at St James's Park and also spent a little time at Sunderland as well, which I know the Sunderland Football Club were very happy to have Steve down there. But yeah, me and Harps go back a long way. We both travelled to the Czech Republic for Pavel Cernacek's funeral a few years ago as well. And I've got to be honest, when I heard the news about Steve Harper, I was very, very concerned. But glad to say I have touched base with him. He's okay, and we'll wish him well in his recovery.
He's a great lad as well.
48 too young. 48 too young.
No, absolutely. And when I was doing the Sky patch up here, used to stop off and talk to Harps quite a lot because he also took up refereeing, and I was a referee at the time. So we used to have a laugh and a joke about that, and a real down-to-earth lad. Even when he was playing in the Premier League, Steve, he was a really, he is a really down-to-earth lad. Just like one of your mates, that you've grown up with. It's that sort of, he's that sort of guy, isn't he?
He is. Yeah. He is. So what's happening at Borough? Have you managed to keep a check on it in your sick bed, Brad?
Of course I have. All we're talking about is the Aussie revolution that is Middlesbrough. Obviously, we've been seeing Sammy Silvera in the headlines, and obviously he's been getting a lot of coverage here in Australia as well. Obviously, Sammy Silvera enjoying life at Middlesbrough's Sammy. He hasn't had the best start in terms of obviously Middlesbrough's performances, and Sammy's been copping a bit of stick, but it hasn't stood in his way. And I think honestly Sammy's got a lot of talent and a lot to show and a lot of promise to come for Middlesbrough. And obviously he's on tour at the moment with Australia. He's obviously become a trusted operator, so that much that he can't actually believe it's happened. In an interview, he said it's surreal, and the 22-year-old has started 4 out of Borough's opening 5 championship matches, and his goal was pivotal in the Middlesbrough Carabao Cup tie we saw in the first round win at Huddersfield Town as well. He's obviously missed the shooting boots in the championship, but he has obviously gotten a goal to his name, and we also saw in the preseason that he could find the back of the net. And obviously Sammy currently in Dallas with Riley McGree and Tom Glover, his Borough teammates, about to take on Mexico at the AT&T Stadium, something I'm very jealous at as being a Dallas Cowboys fan. We also saw that Middlesbrough fans can take advantage of the ticket offer for the Carabao Cup match at Bradford later this month. The 2 clubs have agreed to cut ticket prices for the September 26th clash, which is amazing in the current climate that we see. 2 teams to agree to cut it. The visitors have allocated 4,000 tickets, and Borough fans can watch the match at Valley Parade for only £5. And if Borough fans, if you are listening and you want to get on top of that, and I will repeat it later in the show, you can get your tickets from today. So if you are looking to travel down to Bradford, the Carabao Cup, tickets go on sale for that match today. And embattled Michael Carrick, I hate saying that line, it doesn't really just work, does it? Let's just say the embattled magical Michael Carrick, as I like to call him, is bidding on the exciting talent of Sam Greenwood. Sam Greenwood is the lone star coming in from Leeds United. Middlesbrough obviously have only picked up a single point from their opening 5 games and are seriously in need of goals. Carrick believes the arrival of Leeds United forward on a season-long loan will improve Borough's attacking prowess. And that's all I need to believe, that now Sam Greenwood will score 40 goals.
He's your signing. He's your signing, isn't he? Right? Wasn't he your signing?
Sammy Silvera was, yeah.
Well, I thought you were responsible for Greenwood with your bit of stick.
I was in the shed, painting the wood green. Yeah, look, I think he's an exciting talent is Sam Greenwood, and obviously we are in desperate need for goals down at Middlesbrough. That's one thing we're missing, and look, if Sammy can and chip in with a few, and Michael Carrick thinks he can, then that's I'm all for it. But it's good to see Sammy Silvera in high spirits on his Socceroos trip over to Dallas. What an amazing trip it would be, and obviously the Socceroos play this Sunday against Mexico at AT&T, and it's good to see that he's fitting in well into the Socceroos camp, and he's been all over the news here in Australia, Sammy Silvera, because he's an exciting prospect, and everyone loved Sammy when he had his time here in the A-League. So I hope he goes well on Sunday. I'm not sure if he will get some game time. Maybe he comes off the bench for the Socceroos against Mexico, but exciting times for Sammy. 22 years of age, moved to Middlesbrough, started 4 out of the 5 games, and now representing his country.
Brilliant stuff. Macca, do you have the Sunderland lines there, or do you want me to do it?
No, I do. First of all, I've got to congratulate Joe Bellingham and Chris Rigg, who captained their respective England age group sides yesterday. Sadly, they both ended in defeat to Germany and Portugal, respectively, but great for the club that they've done that. Heaps of praise has been put on Troy Hume from Michael O'Neill, the Northern Ireland manager, saying that he's having a great time at the Stadium of Light at the moment, and he even tried to lure Troy Hume to the Bet 365 Stadium when he was Stoke City manager. Mason Burstow, the on loan player from Chelsea, has sort of got a challenge if he wants to be, like the greats of Didier Drogba. Tony Mowbray's only too happy to help, and he said he thinks Mason Burstow is interested in that challenge, and he's quite happy to help him. Also, Tommy Watson has signed a contract at Sunderland. The 17-year-old will be at Sunderland after months of speculation. He will be at Sunderland to 2026. So, yeah, that is the Sunderland headlines.
And in Dave news, some buffoon tried to cross the Atlantic in a hamster ball. So there you go.
There you go.
I don't know whether you've seen it overnight here in the UK, maybe through the day in Australia, but some absolute buffoon. You know those big inflatable balls that you can climb in and start rolling yourself down?
Yeah.
Zorbs, I think they call them, don't they, or something? Yeah, he decided to put one of them in a frame and run across the Atlantic from America to the UK. When he was pulled up by the US Coast Guard 80 miles offshore and arrested, he's been detained by US authorities. He was just saying, what are you stopping me for? I'm going to London. That was his line. I'm going to London. What an absolute idiot. But there you go.
I've got to say, from a sporting point of view, lads, the best story I have heard this morning, and it was breaking news this morning, is that organisers of the Mexican Marathon have disqualified 11,000 runners.
Oh, I saw that.
After electronic trackers have revealed the participants have not completed the full course. Now, 30,000 runners participated in the 40th anniversary of the race in Mexico, and basically there's a huge investigation now. Now, I'm not being funny, lads. They are trying to say that 11,000 people have jumped on buses, taxis, various different types of transport. This has got to be a glitch in the tracking system, because you wouldn't have 11,000 people cheating. But it led us to think there's a question there for people who want to text in. Have you ever cheated at anything in sport?
VAR.
Is there any big sporting events which you can think of where there's been somebody who's cheated? And I'll start one off with the easiest one: the hand of God, Maradona knocking it over the top of Peter Shilton. That was again, one of the biggest audiences in football. And that was the biggest one. But if you've got any of those, I'm sure Dave will give us the text number and we can read them out on air.
Yeah, the text number for your biggest cheats in sport: 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002. And it's a perfect segue, Steve. You'd think we planned this show. You set them up, mate. I'll smash them away. Because the man who was tasked with chasing Diego Maradona for the second goal in that game was ex-Sunderland boss Peter Reid, and he's going to join us at 8:30 this morning. So Reid's going to be on the show this morning. Don't know whether we should ask about the Maradona goal, but he did. I've seen him talk about it many times, and he says he tried his best to catch him. He was running as fast as he could, but the gap between him and Maradona was just not shrinking. But that was for the second goal. So
that's an honest answer.
Yeah, it is an honest answer. So your biggest cheats in sport. What have you seen? People cheating. People not doing things quite in the spirit of the game. 0330 043 2002. I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head, actually.
I've got another one. They've got Thierry Henry, wasn't that right? Thierry Henry against Ireland.
Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, yes.
Yeah. I think I mean, there's... And look, if you are out there and you're a famous player or person, whatever it is, you don't need to give your name, all right? You don't need to say, look, I am Thierry Henry and this is what happened. Your French accent might give it away, Thierry, but if you want to call in and look, we're here. It's a safe space, Thierry. It's a safe space. But I'm trying to think of some ones that have happened here in Australia. Some obviously one of the biggest ones we've ever riled Australia was the sandpaper scandal in the Australian cricket team.
Cheats.
Against South Africa. Using a bit of sandpaper to rough up the ball with the Aussies. So obviously that's one of the ones, but they didn't get away with that. They certainly did not get away with that. So
body line, Ash, the body
England,
line.
Harold
Larwood.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's been a few.
Don couldn't do anything about those balls.
No, he definitely couldn't. Couldn't. As always, we've got some great talking points on the show, and one that I wanted to talk about because it's something that Newcastle fans may have to deal with in the future, but it's something that Sunderland fans and Middlesbrough fans have had to deal with in the past, and that is potentially moving stadiums. Now, Newcastle, of course, at this moment in time are looking at the possibility of building on St James's Park, potentially extending on the Gallowgate or on the East Stand to increase capacity. But if Newcastle United were to continue growing as a football club and potentially winning something, then there may be a demand for more tickets, and that's going to be leading to the question: should there be a different stadium? Would it be moved to Leazes Park? Would it be moved to a different area in the North East? Newcastle United fans could be up in arms about it, but if it's going to lead to progression of the club, then it may be something different. Now, obviously, Sunderland moved from Roker Park to the Stadium Light, a purpose-built stadium. I did have to laugh when it was on the pits. And then Middlesbrough, of course, moving from the Riverside and going from Essen Park, to the Riverside. Yep. I just wanted to know how you guys felt when you gave it up, and obviously Dave's a Borough fan as well. So, how did you guys feel when you had to leave the ground? Were you upset? Did you not want it to happen? Did you want it to happen? How did you feel?
Firstly, let's talk about let's just cover with Newcastle extending their stadium, because at the moment, for an away fan, if you haven't been to the Newcastle Stadium recently, then if you are an away fan, I trust that you will take a pair of binoculars and a personal trainer, because the seats are that far away from the pitch.
Yeah.
So if they're extending that stadium for the away fans, then you're going to need telescopes. We're going to need telescopes and 2 personal trainers for the boys and girls that'll be going to that one. But obviously, to answer your question, the Essen Park, what a moment in history that was for Middlesbrough. I think it was built back in
1903. Yes, you've got it, mate.
Yeah, and it was demolished in 97. Don't quote me. I think it was. Yeah, it was a home for 92 years. You know what I mean? So, and I don't know, Dave. Did you ever actually get to a game at Essen?
Oh, lots, mate, lots. I'm an old sod. That's the phrase we adopted yesterday. No, I went to many games at Essen. I used to play there because I used to be a Borough junior as well in my youngster days. So we used to go there for training every Thursday night, I think it was, as Borough juniors, and occasionally we'd be allowed onto the pitch and we'd do some sessions on the pitch. It was great. I loved Essen. It was your old, typical, traditional English type of football ground. And I was dead set against it at the time, but I've got to say, hats off to Steve Gibson, because he had the vision, he saw the future, and the first day I walked into the Riverside Stadium, And I came up from the concourse area, up that last flight of steps to poke my head into the bowl of the stadium for the first time. It was just like, yes, mate, you're right. You're absolutely spot on. It's one of the best things we did. Not quite the best thing we did. The best thing we did was sign Juninho, but there you go. That's another conversation.
I mean, I think the Riverside Stadium as well is set sort of like, if you were the blueprint for a lot of modern stadiums. We were one of the original sort of concepts of that style of stadium. And literally that you will see it, the actual, if you've been to the Riverside Stadium and you've been to many games around, around England, you will notice that the familiar sort of style of stadium, and it all stemmed from the Riverside Stadium, which was one of the original designs. So
Derby County was an absolute carbon copy. I think the Britannia Stadium, if it's still called that, probably isn't. Stoke City's ground was also built on that.
Yeah.
The only difference about grounds around England and the Riverside is that the other grounds around England are normally full.
Yay!
Hey, there it is.
Be very careful, by the way, on this subject, Macca, because not a lot of people know it was the Teesside Development Corporation who obviously worked alongside Steve Gibson to build the Riverside, and they helped the Wearside Development Corporation in all their planning and all the prep work to build the Stade de Loom. So be very careful on this subject, mate.
So it's just okay, Dave. I know somebody that fixed the toilets and stuff in their stadiums and put Sunderland panels on the walls. So
I was going to say, just like it was a bunch of smoggies that built the Tyne Bridge. Be very careful about the Stadium of Light, mate.
It's a brilliant stadium, though, is Riverside, and look, one of the best things we ever did. And sitting 34,000, for Middlesbrough. And we I think we've had, some push, and it can actually, I'm pretty sure it can expand up to about 42,000 as well if we need to as well. So it has got room there for us to go larger.
Yeah, it's been designed. If ever that Saudi money comes into Teesside, it's been designed that you can take the roof off and just stick another tee about directly on top.
Beautiful stadium.
Listen to him cackling. Listen to him. Wraithy's just sitting there cackling.
What about Sunderland and Macca? What about
fans
Sunderland?
Further away. You surely can't, Steve.
What's that? Sorry, no. I mean,
you surely can't move away fans further away. Surely,
no, but that's not the stand.
They need binoculars at the moment.
That's not the stand that they're going to develop, mate. No, they're not going to stand the home. They're developing the home end, mate, because they want home supporters in. They don't want any more Borough fans in or Sunderland fans in, for God's sake.
I've heard they're putting scaffolding on the highest point of the stadium just to move them that bit further away from the pitch, mate. Is that true?
But I've heard they're turning the seats around at Borough so that they can watch it outside of the ground rather than inside the ground.
Give the away fans parachutes at St James's Park. That's what I say.
Oh, now, children. I'll let me in here.
You started it.
Yeah. But talking about beautiful stadiums, obviously the Stadium of Light, awesome. Got to a few games at Roker Park in my younger days. God, I'm sounding as old as Dave now, aren't I?
Stop it.
And obviously Roker was special as well, but the Stadium of Light is just it's brilliant. I like the acoustics in there as well. Obviously it's had loads of concerts in there as well. And I just
where does the name really Stadium of Light come from? Where does that come from? Like the Stadium of Light? Where does that? Was there a story behind that?
They nicked it. Like all good Sunderland people, they nicked it. Yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't going to say it, but tell me about the Stadium of Light, the naming.
Yeah, it's the same stadium in Lisbon, I think.
Benfica, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, Benfica. Yeah. Benfica's got the same name stadium. They were the original Stadium of Light, and I think you've got the old Miners' Lantern there at the entrance towards the stadium as well. So there was a link with that. So yeah, I think it was just a direct lift because it fitted the purpose magnificently. So they just lifted the Stade de Loom. It sounds better, doesn't it, than Stadium of Light in a different language. They just lifted the Stadium of Light off Benfica, I think.
I've had a tour of our stadium as well, and it's like you say, really benefited from that. Can't say that word. So yeah, we've had some great memories there as well. I remember beating Chelsea 4-1, which felt amazing. Just like Middlesbrough, I've had some really good memories at the Riverside, I guess. And
It was
Yeah, Beyonce there at one point as well, didn't you? Didn't Beyonce
I was there.
go to the
Right.
stadium a lot? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pink.
And Elton
And
John, I think,
Coldplay
as
as
well.
well.
Yeah, you've had some
Coldplay,
amazing
yeah.
concerts there
Springsteen.
as well. Yeah.
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 It was the Stadium
There
of
you
Light
go.
where Sir Alex Ferguson walked off a live Sky interview that I was doing with him and accused me of asking him clever questions. So never spoken to the man since.
We've also
Wow, there
sent,
you go.
we've also sent Newcastle United down at the Stadium of Light as well.
Oh.
Roker Park's got happier
Yeah.
memories. I mean, I remember going to Roker Park for 34 years and not seeing Sunderland win. Have you got any?
And now we
have you
just
got-
can't stop winning. Now we just can't
Yeah.
stop winning.
We stopped the rot, son. We stopped the rot. It was a 1-1 draw with Mitrovic in the last game. Don't forget. And then we've never seen you since. But anyway, have you got any memorabilia, Dave? Have you got any memorabilia from Ersam?
Do you know what they? I don't think the borough started the trend, but at that particular time, that particular era, when you would shut down a stadium and move into a new one, they used to auction off things. You know, Bernie Slavin, for
Yeah.
example, I think bought a row of seats and a bit of Ersam Park fence because he used to jump on the fence at the Holgate end to celebrate goal scoring. But I managed to buy the players and officials sign that was above the entrance where all the players would go every game and the match officials. So I bought that in the auction. I don't know what I've done with it. It ended up in a garage at a former house I had 27 house moves ago, and it's disappeared. I think I ended up giving it to a mate. So I did have a piece of Ersam, but no longer. Don't know where it's sitting now. It's probably on a pub wall somewhere on Teesside.
Have you got anything from Ersam? Not Maga. Have you got any pride from Ersam?
No, you're all good. He's just waking up. He's a bit shocked because I'm back, I think, over
I am, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I forgot your name. I forgot your name because you're never here.
I'll let him go for one show and the fame's gone to his head. Okay, I apologise about this, ladies and gentlemen, but
Dave stole the show yesterday,
I'm
not
back
me.
now. I'm helping here. I have got a photo framed from Ersam Park when I did go go over to Middlesbrough.
Of
I
yourself?
got one of the framed photos. No, not from me. No, it wasn't from me, but it's a framed photo that was taken back in the day, just before it was demolished. It's in '95, I want to say, in the frame photo. So, but I don't have any sort of physical things. Obviously, I wouldn't have allowed to put that back on the plane. But I did get from the club shop a framed photo of Ersam Park, and it's dated 1995, and a beautiful stadium, and obviously the gate's still at the front of the stadium to this day. So, I do think the Riverside Stadium is a beautiful place for Middlesbrough to be now, but we never forget where we came from.
Yeah, just before we move on to Roker Park, there is something we've got in the office here. I've been handed it for safekeeping. We've actually got memorabilia signed by the North Korean players who remain alive when they visited Ersam Park, well, the site of Ersam Park back in 2002. These were the guys from the 1966 World Cup team that beat Italy 1-0 at Ersam Park, including Pak Duick, who scored the goal that beat Italy in what was and probably still is to this day, the biggest World Cup shock result. So we've got that in the office here. We've got a couple of hand-painted posters that the North Koreans commissioned in Pyongyang before they travelled in 2002. It's a poster of a North Korean player, and obviously all the dates and Ersam Park in the background, which all the guys signed. A couple of Korean vases which they've all signed. Photographs. We've got letters from the guys all framed and stuff. This is all sitting in the office here, all to do with that game when North Korea beat Italy at Ersam Park. And you know, I'm trying to hand that on to the local museum here, see if they want to put on some sort of display. So a bit serious, that one, but just a bit of memorabilia from the North Korean story in 1966 at Ersam Park. What about Roker Park?
At the photo now.
Roker Park.
What a beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
In our old house, we had some grass. Yeah, we had some grass in the garden from Roker, and a sink off the wall as well.
Was that after Newcastle beating you? You lost your temper and pulled it off, or?
No, but I do.
He's gone down and ripped up the pitch.
I do have it, but it's not from Roker. It's from the training ground, or the old training ground at Whitburn.
Oh yeah.
From the aforementioned Peter Reid, I do have a can of Coke still.
I've heard this story.
Yeah, it won't be drunk either. Because obviously Peter Reid was, I met him and it was really, really good. And he was kind enough to go into his fridge. And he actually said to me, "Oh, I'm just going into the fridge. Hang on." I'm thinking, what? So he went into the fridge and obviously pulled out this can of Coke, and it's remained ever since. It's never been drank.
It almost beats my story of Kevin Keegan standing at Hampden just before England kicked off against Scotland in the Euros qualifier going, where'd you get your curry from? It's like, okay. Yeah, okay. I'm going into my fridge, lad. We got Reedy on in, 59 minutes. So Reedy's going to be on at 8:30 this morning. Looking forward to that one. Right. So we can't even ask Steve, has he got a piece of memorabilia from...
I've got a bit of memorabilia, which is something which, I mean, not from the ground. Not
Does the club know?
I've actually got, when Mike Ashley re-kitted some of the rooms, redecorated some of the rooms, he basically ripped out the history off the walls of the Platinum Club and he chucked them all in a skip. And one of my mates rang us up and said, all of those pictures off the wall in the Platinum Club have been chucked into a skip. He says, I'm just passing, do you want any? And he basically took them out the skip. He didn't tell us the size of them. They were the size of your average bedroom wall, each one of them, and there was 24 of them. So I've got to be honest, they were going out. I bought them off them, and when I had an office in Newcastle City Centre, the majority of them used to adorn the walls. It took a structural engineer to get them on the walls, but I did manage to do it. And when people used to come to my office, they were blown away by these. But when I moved out of the office, I made sure they all had good homes. But I did keep a hold of one of them. One of them is a wonderful picture of the 92-93 promotion squad on the pitch when they were doing the lap of honour. And the other prized possession, I bought it off Bobby Cowell's grandson. Now, Bobby Cowell was a 1951, 52, 55 cup winner. How he came across this ball, I don't know, though. It was the official match ball from Newcastle United's game against Cardiff in the 83-84 season, and it's signed by both teams. So it's signed by Keegan, Waddle, Beardsley, John Anderson, Kevin Carr, etc. It's also signed by the Cardiff team, and on there is a Sunderland player, Gary Bennett, Sunderland legend.
Hey, Benno, yes.
Benno's on there because he played for Cardiff at the time, but that's probably my biggest prized possession. And my granddad, without boring you all senseless, was a referee in the what is now the Premier League, but he was also a linesman back in the 1950s, and then became a referee assessor in his later years. And I've got all of these badges. I've got his red cards. I've got his yellow cards. I've got everything. So they're my prized possessions, lads.
Nice. Talking refereeing then, I've got a big photograph on the wall in the office. It was presented to me. Actually, my family got it done, but the photograph itself was presented to me by the Times photographer of India. I refereed a big game in India. It was the Calcutta Derby in 2005. East Bengal against Mohun Bagan, which means nothing, but it's effectively the Celtic Rangers of Indian football, and there's 110,000 people in the stadium, and it's a great photograph. And I'll say thank you to the Times in India, 27 times over if I have to. And it's when we line up just as the anthem's playing, so you got the two teams either side of the four match officials in the middle. There's a story in itself on that game, but we won't bore the pants off you this morning because it's referee talk. But that's one of my prized possessions. And there's little white man me standing there with my head bowed. It looks like I'm praying, and everybody takes the mick out of me saying, "Were you praying for help before this game started?" But yeah, 110,000 in the stadium. It was brilliant.
One of my favourite memories as well is one of my favourite memories. Also, I just wanted to say this, Steve, was that I think I've got a photo of the Sports Direct Arena somewhere as well, when it was famously renamed to Sports Direct Arena. Which you still count that as a name to this day, Steve?
No, I actually dressed up as a vicar and marched on St James's Park to stop that naming ceremony.
Oh, so this photo I've got where it's called Sports Direct Arena, I don't throw that out.
Bennett, mate. Bennett, it's worth nothing.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
just be known as sportsdirect.com at one stage, I think.
Yeah.
Just a thing for Steve. Keep them yellow cards handy, just because when Dave and Rye talk too much borough, you can wave them at them.
That's a great idea, Macca. Thanks very much, mate. And a red card as well for Rye. He's getting above his station. Yeah. I'll have to pull his other shoulder out.
Be careful, mate. Be careful, mate. I've kept all of mine as well, so we can retaliate. Look, it's 7:36. It is the North East Footy Breakfast. Lots to chew the fat over this morning across the North East on the 3 stations altogether. The Cap, the Red and the Toon. We will continue chewing fat, all 4 of us, after this.
Steve and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the cat, and the toon.
There he is. There he is in the background. Mac is singing away to Dig and Blue. And yeah, Dignity. It was me yesterday.
I've just lost mine, yeah. that was my initiation to get into the group. You say I've got to had to sing.
You got to sing on air. That's it. So I did it yesterday. You've done it today.
You get the golden buzzer from me, Macca. Golden buzzer from me, mate. All the way in.
That was Joey Barton's song. That when Newcastle United were promoted in the 2009-2010, he used to sing that in the dressing room. He used to sing Geordie Alouetta. And he used to sing Dignity, but they used to play that in the dressing room, and he used to sing it, and he knew every word. And I was lucky enough to go to the trophy, the celebration, the players' celebration, the night after they won the league, and he got up and sang it on the mic. Absolutely fantastic. Brings back a lot of memories. That
I tell you what,
I loved Joey Barton back in the day. I tell you, he was just one player as an Aussie you could connect with the way he went about it.
There is an old initiation tradition, isn't there, within football clubs? And I've seen it. I've actually seen it with my own eyes. I spent a week doing a radio documentary. His life as a professional footballer with Darlington, and I got fined, and they set me up left, right, and centre. But when a former used to be an apprentice, then they were called YTS. What are they called these days? I can't remember what they're called these days. But when they progress and sign their first contract, and they move into the big changing rooms, they're forced to stand on a chair and sing a song. But they're actually given a choice. This is in front of all the first team squad. But they're given the choice, and I don't know whether I can get away with this on the radio. The guys basically say sing, or shows you ring. So I'll leave it to your imagination to what the choice is. But most of the apprentices choose to sing a song.
What if you're not married, Dave?
I love it. Well done, Steve. You pulled me right out of the poo there. Sorry.
Just a thing on Darlington, though, when you just mentioned them there, they've sacked their manager.
Yeah.
Bottom of their conference north.
Saw that. Alan Armstrong, North East lad. Yeah, he used to play for the Borough as well, former Borough striker.
Yeah. It's a shame. Yeah, the more weird thing about it is that all it says is senior players are taking temporary charge, whatever that means. Like, obviously senior players, I don't know who that means. They're not naming any names or. Yeah,
I mean Darlington's one of those clubs, aren't there? I mean, it was a terrible story to see them drop out of the Football League and everything that happened. With a 20,000 seater arena, modern day stadium. But it was a club that was rescued by the fans, weren't there? There was a group of fans got together, brought the funds in to rescue the club, build and start again. And I think it is still managed by fan representatives, though the board, is a fairly settled board. But it's an interesting one. But yes, sad news from Alan Armstrong's perspective, because I thought he did a decent job.
When Darlington were in the league,
sorry,
when Darlington were in the leagues. At one point, Century used to have commentary on Darlington games and Hartlepool games.
Well, I used to go across. It was George Reynolds was the Darlington owner, who this explosive time in the club's history happened under his watch, and he was a character. I mean, a former safecracker, had served time for what he'd done. Then built himself an industrial enterprise on the outskirts. I think it was Spennymoor. Was it on the outskirts of Spennymoor? But he was the guy was a one-off, an absolute one-off, and my phone would ring when I was Sky's Northeast reporter, and it would be his left, I was going to say his right-hand man, his left-hand man, Luke Rains, who used to work closely with George and do all the work for him, and he'd phone up and say the chairman wants to be interviewed on TV, and I'd say, all right, what's the story? Oh, there isn't a story. He just wants to be interviewed on TV. Can you come down? And I said, Luke, it doesn't work like that, mate. And he goes, well, the chairman wants to be interviewed on TV.
Yeah.
I said, well, we've got to find a story. He went, just leave that to me. We'll sort that out. Just get here today and bring your TV cameras. And I turn up, and I remember this one time I turned up under these circumstances, and George had all the players' contracts on the table in front of me, and he goes, right, we'll do a story on how much all these players are getting paid. I'm thinking, you can't do that, mate. You just can't do that.
There's a great story about George Reynolds, and Gary Bennett tells this story. I've done a few talk-ins with Gary over the years, and he said he says one day he could hear this. He says Gary was sitting in his chair in the office, and George Reynolds was sitting in the other. And he said all he heard was this like smacking noise, getting closer and closer and closer. And it was the guy who worked in the ticket office who was coming in to pick up some tickets and to pick up the, the till, etc., ready to go onto the turnstile. And it became apparent that when the guy got closer, it was the guy's shoe that was actually like smacking together. His sole was coming away from the actual shoe. So George goes, "Is that your shoe?" He goes, "Yeah." And of course George is sitting at a desk, loads of money on the desk, etc. And he says, "2 seconds, son." And he goes and picks up this big chunk of money, and the bloke's eyes light up because he thinks he's going to get a couple of quid for a new pair of shoes. George takes an elastic band off the money, chucks him, and he says, "Yeah, stick that on your shoe."
Love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, he was a real character. I don't even know if he's still with us, George. Got no idea what happened.
I was just thinking that myself.
No, I think he passed away, George. He passed away. The last time I saw him, he was getting ready for another court case. He'd been pulled over in a car with 50 grand loose cash in the boot.
No, it was. I thought it was $500,000. I thought that one was. I thought it was $500,000 loose cash in the boot. Yeah, brilliant. No, fantastic.
What a character.
Oh, there's some great George Reynolds stories which you could never tell on radio. So if ever we get together for a beer, boys, I'll tell you them. The one about Lambton Lion Park is absolutely tremendous. But I'll leave you in suspenders on that one. So where do we go? Talk about tangents, fellas. We've gone massively on one.
I wanted to touch on the initiation thing as well, because I've got to remember one story that I remember. Obviously, Ray Parlour, the Arsenal great, but that Ray Parlour obviously had a time at Middlesbrough as well. But I remember hearing a story once, and it's always stuck with me, of Ray Parlour and what he used to do with the initiation of Arsenal recruits. And if you've heard this story, you'll have a laugh, but Ray Parlour used to be the one that would take Arsenal recruits under his wing and teaching them some helpful English phrases, if you will. So obviously Arsenal used to get a lot of internationals in. And I remember this one story of Ray Parlour taking in Brazilian midfielder Edu. Do you guys, obviously Edu, his English wasn't too great. And it was reported, right, that Edu greeted former Manchester United chief executive Martin Edwards with, "You dirty beated." Because that was what he was taught. Ray Parlour was teaching these Brazilians that you dirty. I'm not going to repeat it on air, but it's BASTARD.
Yeah, that's the one.
And that's how Edu introduced himself to the chief executive Martin Edwards when he first walked into Arsenal.
Absolute classic. We've talked about football stadiums, lads. Another thing I wanted to talk about was football programmes, because, we've talked about collecting memorabilia, but, when I was a kid, I used to collect programmes, and obviously me granddad, being a referee, used to bring us lots of programmes in after each game, and, I built up quite a healthy collection. And then when I got older, my dad passed his programmes down to me, and, I ended up with a load of programmes, and I never thought I'd see the day when I stopped buying them, but eventually you do. I've stopped buying football programmes. I'm just wondering, is it the dying art? I mean, the digital age now, people can get a programme on their phone. Outside St James's Park, they still sell football programmes. The guys are still out there, although they're few and far between. And I think if you go into the corporate areas, you go into the boxes, you go into the lounges, you get your programme for free because you pay a little bit more. But ultimately, are there things that people are bothered about now? Is a football programme something that you collect? I mean, is it something that you sit and read from page to page? I've got to be honest, I've stopped collecting them now, and I could get a free one when I go in now, but I just don't even bother chasing it down, because it's not something that's interesting, because in the old days you'd have it for the team on the back, who's playing, but you can pick all that up digitally now, so ultimately our programmes are dying art.
I would say so. I think obviously you've got to pay homage to Rob Mason, who was the Sunderland programme editor and now the historian. But I think and obviously it was difficult for me because a lot of them are in print. So obviously I couldn't read them, but I do like it when you do walk towards the ground and you hear the guy shouting, come and get your hats, your scarves, your flags, your programmes. Because then when I hear that, I know that I'm close to Sunderland's ground. So it's a shame really, but like you say, everything's just digitalised now, and in a way I'm quite glad it is.
Did they not do anything for people? Did they not do Braille or the equivalent of that for you? Or did they do an audio programme? Because obviously technology's moved on now.
I was just trying to think to myself, have I ever had a Braille programme? I don't think I have, but because it's all digitalised now, I can read it online with my phone or like my computer, so it's not really needed to be in Braille or out for me, but I'm guessing there is people out there that probably would love programs in Braille, and be interesting to hear from someone if they did it. If other blind listeners are listening that have had programs in Braille.
What about you?
I'm going to throw my hat in the ring, and I am going to throw my hat in the ring and stand up for programs because I absolutely love them, and I think they're essential to a football match day experience. I've got a couple of programs sent to me, a couple by fans and a couple by the club, and I've got one that's really special to me, which is signed from last game of not that we want to remember it, but a Middlesbrough v Coventry game from last season, and all the players have signed it and stuff like that. And I know Paul Dews I think does the editing for the programs, and I absolutely love them. We get them here for the local AFL, and some of them are my most prized possession. I think it's if it's a dying art, then it's something for me, as I guess that I want to hang on to, because I think they're just essential. I think they're great. They tell you, we got Michael Carrick that, page 1 tells you what's happening in the club. And, I think in the current day and age, we're too busy on our phones. Do you know what I mean? But the print, the artwork of it, the design of it, the amount of work that goes into to get the photos, the articles written, stuff like that. It also gives us, a place to give special mention to the local companies and the advertisements and the partners and all that sort of stuff. So, look, for someone like myself, I think, as someone that collects them, especially from the AFL here in Australia, but also I've got a good collection of Middlesbrough ones now. They're some of my most favourite things in the world. And I think if they were to ever get rid of them, I'd be devastated. I think they are essential to a good match day. I think you can take it along. I know there's people out there that like to keep stats as well. I don't know if they do them for you guys at Newcastle and Sunderland, but in some of the records, we've got areas where you can write stats, so you can keep along and say that, I saw that bloke turn a touch, he got a goal, and you keep stats and you write on them and get a player or the coach to sign them, and, what a piece of memorabilia. Because the art form of physical stuff, I don't want to ever lose that from.
And are you a train spotter as well, Ray?
A train spotter?
I'm just listening to you going on about stats and that, and collecting stats and scribbling things in programs. Get me out.
Trainspotting was a good movie, by the way.
It may be lost in translation, Trainspotting. I don't know whether you get trains, running as frequently across Australia.
David gone to sleep.
Evan Welsh is a good hit as well.
I love them, and programs need to stay. You two digital heads on your phones can have it all you want, all right? But these programs are the best thing, and they're modern day, and I think they're here to stay. And you guys on your phones and your doohickeys and your up to date modern whiz bangs, all right? You can
whiz bangs.
Programs are here to stay.
Yeah, whiz bangs.
I think he's still on some medication for his shoulder, isn't he?
Yeah, I think something. Yeah.
I'm keeping quiet because my association to programs is really sad, really, and I don't mean sad as in me, without to be accused of being. I mean sad as in a disappointing story, because I used to collect programs. I had thousands of the things, and bear in mind I've been travelling to Middlesbrough games since the age of 4, because my mum was a mad Middlesbrough fan, and we'd go home and away, and I'd go to all these places, all these grounds. I mean, we even had in the family It'll mean nothing to Sunderland and Newcastle fans, but to Borough fans it will. Wilf Mannion's testimonial programme. Now, Wilf Mannion was a great. I mean, we're talking the greats of history for the football club, and he didn't even get a testimonial. He wasn't granted a testimonial by Middlesbrough Football Club, so he was set up as an independent one. I'm sure my memory might lose me here, but I'm sure the game was played at Albert Park in Middlesbrough, something like that. But there was a programme produced, and we had some real great programmes. And there was a friend of the family who used to collect programmes, and he asked if he could borrow the collection. We had several thousand programmes in the collection. We never got them back. They never came back. And when we finally started chasing them down, they'd been sold. So it's like, oh my God. So it's a bit of a sad tale on programmes. So no, I don't collect them anymore, mate, because I had a great collection and lost them. But there you go.
That's a nightmare, that.
I know, but while we're on the subject of programmes, do you remember yesterday, Rye won't, because he was like on morphine getting his shoulder put back in. I know the hospital would have been listening, of course, to the Cat, the Red and the Toon. You're okay, Rye. We know it would have been in the background. Absolutely. By the way, we do have listeners in Beijing. I just want to say hi to CTVS in Beijing who have the Toon on all the time in the office. We got a message from them yesterday.
Better, but good on you. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, the Red's better. Absolutely it is.
The Cat's even better.
Here we go. I love to see the rivalry even across the radio stations. But yesterday, Steve, you challenged us with the task of football songs, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Yeah, well, I thought we'd play one or two. We'll pick out one a morning and see how embarrassing these football songs were. Do you remember this one? It got to number 31 in the charts in the UK and appeared on top of the Pops.
Yes.
This is Gaza singing Geordie Boys.
This is a classic.
Move your body, tap your cap, keep on going to the Gaza round. Clap those hands, live it out. However, lads, one last show. Come on.
Geordie boys, we are the Geordie. We are the Geordie boys.
How embarrassing, I must say.
We are the Geordie boys. We are the Geordie
How cringy.
I tell you what, Steve, I'll set you a challenge, Steve. We've got to get Gaza on this show.
Okay, dear me out. Do you want to get shut down?
Oh, look, we'll give him a curry.
This song is an absolute belter, mate. The video is absolutely brilliant. It captures a certain period in time in bars in Newcastle, with Gaza interlinked in various bars as well. It's a brilliant video of that. Like.
And doesn't he take his clothes off on the video or something?
He does at some point, yeah.
Reveals his six pack.
Some fake plastic breasts as well.
I never thought I would say this, but thank goodness I'm blind.
Yeah, that's a classic, lads.
There you go. I rose to the occasion.
I can picture Davy Nellis on his bike listening to that.
I might be singing it next week, mate. You never know.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we can sing Ali's Tartan Army next week.
Get one of these. Get one on a day, though, Dave. Get one on a day.
One on a day. It doesn't have to be North East songs. We'll just pull football songs from.
You can't beat Chumbawamba for me. Chumbawamba. I know some people think it's cringe, but bit of Chumbawamba.
Is that a football song? Is that about you falling over at work, dislocating your shoulder?
You don't know the tub thumping? Oh, get it on. Tub thumping, Chumbawamba. Get it on. Classic. We'll be singing. There it is. My hairs on my arms stand up. It's football.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Yeah. This is Rye's theme tune. This is Rye's. Just picturing him at work shifting a woman's PC and then falling on the floor.
And then he gets knocked out as they put his shoulder back in. Absolutely.
If I go quiet, I've Chumbawamba'd a bit too much.
Well, it goes a bit quiet here. Yeah, there you go. That's all you're getting. Mate. We said one a day, not two. We might play it in its entirety one day, mate. Don't you worry. We'll do it.
We'll have to ask Davy Nellis, because we're going to get him on shortly, I think, aren't we, about the bike ride. We need to find out what he's listening to on his bike ride.
Yes, we will, and we're going to do that
Have
next.
some good tunes, wouldn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't got any blisters yet. He did confirm that, didn't he, a couple of days ago? But he must be up here somewhere. It was Lincolnshire, wasn't it? Last time we checked in with him.
He was, yeah, but we missed him yesterday because of the internet, the bad signal that he had on his phone, etc. So hopefully we'll get him today, and we'll be able to find out where he is, and we can give you an update on his journey, reaching the end now for Davey as well, which is great.
Yeah, I'll tell you what we'll do, fellas, because it is 8 o'clock. It's time for the news. We'll actually catch up with Davey next across the North East on the Cat, the Red, and the Toon.
From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane. Steve and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon, and the Cat.
Oh, it's unmistakable, isn't it? It's U2 and Angel of Harlem. I've got to say thanks to, I don't know who Brian is, Steve, but it was great to see that comment coming in from a Newcastle fan, and I'll take it, about how great the breakfast show is. It's better than Talk Sport, he said on social media.
Ugh.
Oh.
Well, that's good of him, isn't it? I didn't have to pay him either.
Ah,
Above and beyond.
indeed. Angel of Harlem, Angel of the West End of Newcastle. Davies Honours, the man with a sore bum, probably, because he's riding from Newcastle to the West End of Newcastle. Davy, good morning. Where do we find you?
You find me in York.
Nice.
Yeah, yesterday was from Hull to York, and today from York to Eagles Cliff, just outside of the borough.
That's it, yeah. I'm from a Yarm boy, so I'm just across the water from Eagles Cliff. We used to do battles many years ago.
Really?
Because obviously the River Tees was the boundary between Yorkshire and Durham, or Northumbria as it used to be called in the old days. Yeah, that's right. God, we used to fight over anything, colours of roses, which side of the bridge you should live on. God, we want a
Who's
history.
got the best Parmo?
Yeah, well, that's it now. It's who's got the best bar and the best Parmo. You're dead right, mate. But tell us how the ride's been going.
Yeah, it's been very good. It was very flat through Lincolnshire, and then we got out of Lincolnshire, and it gets as you come up towards Hull, it gets very hilly again. So I'm carrying a fair bit of weight on the old panniers. So that was hard, but it's just been the heat has been probably the biggest sort of the hardest thing to get over, really. So I'm trying to have fairly early starts and just trying to keep up the fluids, but people have been great. People have been so kind on the route and everything.
Yeah, fantastic,
lost
Davey.
much
Morning,
weight?
mate.
Morning,
Have
Steve.
you lost, obviously just in fluids and that sort of thing? Obviously, good morning as well, and it's great to see you. And it's good to hear that you're going near God's country in Middlesbrough. I just wanted to know, because, obviously we've got a couple of blokes that have ridden around Australia, and I remember one of them riding from the south of Australia up to the north, and he said, well, obviously the Australian heat was one of the things that he said he couldn't believe how much fluid he lost, and obviously the weight that was, he thought he couldn't believe how much weight was actually in the fluid.
Yes, I think what happens is once I get to my destination, I retake that fluid in an alcoholic form.
Love it. Perfect. Greatest answer. Perfect.
Typical Geordie lads, you see that you can take the lad out of Newcastle. You can't. Davey, I was going to ask you. We've been playing around with some daft football songs this week, and Davey's kindly just put on Geordie Boys by Gaza, which brings back some great memories of World Cup 1990. But I'm just wondering what kind of music are you listening to on your bike travels? Is that the kind of thing? Are you just going for some Geordie tunes and some Geordie bangers, or are you going for something a bit more classical? How are you getting through it with music?
I tell you what, I was coming the other day and I was having a really hard time, and it was just too hot and everything. And I'd asked people to put on a song for a playlist. Got about 100 songs, and Big River by Jimmy Nail came on, and the tears just went. I went, oh my God. I'm 8:30 in the morning cycling through the fens. No one around, and I'm like, I had to pull over. I was like, oh my God, what's... You're losing it, pal.
Ah, here it is.
Yeah, you go.
That's it. Oh, I'm off.
We're going again together as a collective.
I'll come over the Tyne Bridge to Busker. I'll be like, I'm coming home.
Newcastle. It's funny, we were talking about that yesterday. We're talking about what songs do you listen to, and that was another one I mentioned. Good old Ronnie Lambert and Busker. But I just want to push what you're doing here. 368 miles from London to Newcastle to raise funds for the West End Food Bank, which is a cause which is close to my heart, your heart, and thousands of Geordies across the region. And obviously, anybody who wants to donate, you've got a GoFundMe page. End the cycle of poverty. Just give us a those people who didn't tune in the other day. Just give us a quick recap on why you're doing it, Davey.
Well, I'm sort of currently about to go back into the play Daniel Blake, and as part of the research, we went to the West End Food Bank and spoke to Carol, the coordinator, and our volunteers, and a couple of the lasses just told their story about. It's an everyday story. We could all be there. That's the thing. You lose a couple of paychecks, a bereavement, a divorce, something like that. Well, we could all be thrust into it. And it was just so humbling. And then I was reading up about it, and I read the fact that the North East has the highest levels of child poverty in the UK. And it made me angry. It made me embarrassed. And I just thought, well, what can I do? And I thought, well, if I can just do one thing it's something I've wanted to do for years, but I sort of work and stuff. I hadn't had a chance to do it, so I thought, well, this is it. This is what I've got to do, and it's people going, oh, you're amazing, you're a hero. No, they are the heroes. They're there every single week, every day, just trying to make people's lives a little bit better.
Fantastic, great stuff,
Absolutely,
Davey. So, I mean, you're setting off today, off to Eagles Cliff. Hopefully, we'll get you back on the show tomorrow just to find out where you are and give you another plug, mate. But great to have you on the show again, mate.
And I'm not going to ignore you, Davey. I tested positive for COVID yesterday. Otherwise, I would have come across to Eagles Cliff tonight and had a beer with you and helped you with your fluid recovery for the ride. But
I'm staying with my good old pal, the playwright Gordon Steele, so he'll help me with the fluids. I'm sure.
So it's not a personal snub, mate. I don't want to give you COVID on your last leg of your journey. Oh, you had it a few weeks ago.
Can't imagine.
Yeah. Aye. All right, mate. Well, look, all the best. We'll check in with you tomorrow, see where you are. Enjoy.
Really appreciate your support, lads.
Enjoy
really
Teesside. Nice. That's the important thing.
Of course.
God's country.
Who couldn't?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's right.
Take care, Davey.
Look at him.
Cheers, David.
Thanks, lads. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Fantastic stuff. Hey, he's softening the Teesside ride because 2 days ago when we last had him on, his parting shot was a dig at Teesside, and now he's being nice.
I know.
Love it.
Love it. All it takes is a quick bike ride through, around it, and you realise it's God's country, best country in the world. You know what I mean? The best area. You know what I mean? As if it's graced by God Himself. That area. So look,
fantastic.
I don't blame him. Yeah,
love it. But what a fantastic thing to do, and a worthy cause as well. And incredible. He's got me. It's rubbed off. He's got me seriously thinking, what could I do? What can these stations do? What can these stations do? So that's the task.
We'll come up with something, lads. We'll come up with something. We will. I've got to ask you, lads. I did send you this yesterday, right? Yeah. So I think you did acknowledge it. The tweet that went out yesterday, I think it was from a Belgian football coach who thinks he's found a loophole in the offside law. And of course, it's all. It's all around the law 11, which stipulates that the first point of contact of the play or touch of the ball should be used. Now, touch is the word which is causing the issue here. And the video that was circulating yesterday, and it went global, was showed that if you could scoop the ball up and balance it on your foot, then passing it to a player would not be offside. I mean, it went viral, didn't it, Ryan? What did you make of that?
I thought it was hilarious, and I thought, what a clever read. You know, I mean, when you literally sit there and read the bylaws word for word, it kind of made sense. And he said, I loved it. If you haven't seen it, it'll be up on the social media, and it won't take you long to find it. But it was a clever little bit of, I guess, acknowledgement that the rule can be, misinterpreted, can't it? And it was the word touch that's, I guess, is causing the issue. So, like, scooping the ball, balancing it on your foot, and then passing it on to player would not be offside. So it's incredible. And I think obviously everyone would have to say, it's still offside. But look, it's a good point, because when it comes to VAR, and obviously such a contentious issue in the moment with VAR, and
burn it.
If they are to go by the book, at the moment, but look, we need to hear from the referee himself, because. What do you make of when someone comes up to you and says, well, actually, Dave, it's written here under, law 11 that stipulates the first point of contact of the play or touch of the ball should be used.
No, it's brilliant, and I'll come on to that in a second, but it takes me back to Sam Allardyce, that well-known, very successful North East football manager, yay, Macca.
Done all right at Sunderland, actually.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Didn't do much at Leeds.
Sammy.
He was brilliant. So Sam used to look as soon as IFAB, which is the International Football Association Board, or whatever they're called, the guys who make the rules up. As soon as they come out with their tinkering to the laws at the end of every season before the new season starts, he used to read it. And do you remember when they changed again? It was the offside rule. A player would only be considered interfering with play if he touched the ball or interfered with an opponent, which was effectively blocked an opponent from getting to the ball. So when that changed, when that tinker came out about 8 years ago or something, 10 years ago, he used to say, immediately, first game of the season, he'd put two of his attackers at a free kick situation on the apex of the opponent's 6-yard box, goal area. Do you remember that? And then they'd run back towards the wall. Well, that was Allardyce, and he would do exactly this. He'd look at the wording, and he would then create what he thought was solutions to circumventing the law. And this one's brilliant, but I can tell you it's not going to win. It's not got any legs, because the way professional referees are taught is unlike amateur referees. So the amateur referees are given the laws of the game. They've got to read and consume the laws of the game. Then they're allowed to go out and practice refereeing to the laws of the game. What happens at professional level, and I've been there because I've been a member of the PGMOL and obviously refereed in the professional game subsequently. We are then, yes, there are the laws of the game, but then you move into the spirit of the law, how they've got to be applied, a lot of considerations. There's like 212 considerations of how to apply the laws of the game. So it's all about how they're applied, how to use the laws in a live match situation. So yeah, the black and white text may say touch, play, whatever you want to read, but in reality it's going to be taken by a referee, whether you scoop the ball or balance it on your foot, balance it on your head and walk it into the net, whatever it is, it's going to be part of the offside. So it's not going to run. I'm sorry
I'm not happy.
Sorry to throw a damp squib on the whole situation.
From now on, all referees should carry the manual with them on the pitch. I reckon they should have it strapped to their back, the full book, word for word, verbatim. They need to pull it out and stop the match, and we need to find Rule 11 and we need to read it onto the pitch.
All right, I'll give you one then. I'm going to give you one, Rye. So the Borough get a free kick, defensive free kick just outside their own penalty area. Standing over the ball is Dale Fry. Dale Fry decides I'm going to play it back to my keeper. So he rolls it back to Seni Diang. Seni Diang was just taking a swig of water from his bottle that he's obviously put by the front post. Doesn't see it, and the ball rolls into the net. What does the referee give?
It's back to a free kick. It's
an indirect free kick 12, to the Borough.
Rule 12. states that goalkeepers, whilst drinking, are to be left alone.
And I'll give you, well, let's just tinker it. It's a direct free kick to the Borough then. It's a direct free kick just outside the penalty area. Dale Fry rolls it back to Senny Diang, who wasn't watching, was taking a swig out of his water bottle, and the ball rolls into the back of the net. There you go, guys. I'll widen it, even though I've used a Borough example. What does the referee, or how does the referee restart play? What does he give?
I bet she goes to VAR because I wouldn't be calling that one.
Burn it at the stake.
And we know what'll happen there. It'll end up a right mess.
Yeah, have you noticed? I was going to say, have you noticed how Newcastle and Sunderland don't want to chip into this one? Any ideas?
If it helps,
Steve,
if
Maggot?
it helps, I was just going to say, if it helps, if Borough were playing Sunderland and that happened, then he would give the own goal, obviously.
If Borough were playing Sunderland, well, let's remove me from the equation, because I'd always give Borough a goal, no matter what happens. You know, you award the ball goes out of play for a throw-in on the halfway line. I'd be blowing my whistle and pointing to the centre circle. It's a goal for the Borough, but there you go. Anybody out there? Give us a shout. 0330 043 2002. That's the number. Oh God, it's just like reading Shoot magazine, and you are the ref, isn't it? We're bringing it back after 20 years. 0330 043 2002 is the WhatsApp number. Can you answer that question? It doesn't have to be the Borough. Could be Newcastle.
It's a tough one.
You know, Botman might decide to take the direct free kick, just roll it back to the keeper. Keeper doesn't see it, goes into an empty net. What is awarded? What does the referee award? 0330 043 2002.
Worst one I saw was on Sunday League when one of my players went through, rounded the goalkeeper, and then stopped the ball on the line, got down on his knees and headed the ball in. Now, the referee disallowed the goal for bad sportsmanship.
Oh, wow.
I love it.
I mean, that's just a goal. I just couldn't believe it.
It is a goal, yeah. It is a goal.
Yeah. And Sunday League referees who never used to get out of the centre circle, who could disallow a goal for either offside or a ball not crossing the line, standing in the centre circle on a Sunday morning wearing flip-flops, they should be taken out of the game, Dave.
They should be. They should be. And I had one when I was playing on Sunday League. I took a corner and it was an in-swinger and it went straight into the goal. So I'm legging it down the touchline going, get in! To which I hear the whistle go peep and the referee goes, you can't score directly from a corner kick. What? What?
Unbelievable.
No.
So I told him what I thought of him and I got a yellow card. I started quoting the laws of the game to him and he went, you're a bit of a smart have this, and stuck a yellow card under my nose, but there you go.
What a classic. Absolute classic. What's happening in the Saudi League, Rye? Because we've been covering this all the way through
we have
the last couple of weeks. Is there anything happening?
Yeah.
Is there anything happening?
I don't think so. I mean, the gossip is that Salah's going nowhere. That's the last I heard, the rumour was that despite being offered a contract worth between 500 and 600 mil, or about 400 and 400 to 480 million pounds over 3 years, it looks like Salah's going nowhere is the latest rumour. But you've got another reporter that's saying, thanks for everything, Salah. So it's an interesting day. We've obviously got deadline day for the Saudi Pro League. We've also going to see not only is it Salah, but potentially Gray. We saw Demarai Gray, obviously of Everton, come out earlier this week and have a go at Sean Dyche, his current manager, saying he doesn't trust him and wouldn't want to. Wouldn't want to play under someone that doesn't trust him. So Demarai Gray being forced out of Everton looks like he's going to move to the Saudi League as well in a big money move there as well to get out of the way of Everton and the Sean Dyche train that is coming down on him very heavily, I would argue. But yeah, it looks like it does look like it could be interesting. It could be another bid come in, but we would see a massive fallout if we did see Salah leave today. And obviously we've already seen
Sky reporting that it's imminent, that there's a bid imminent
it's
today.
Imminent. There you go. Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, look. You know what's crazy is obviously Liverpool we've already seen Fabinho and also obviously Jordan Henderson moving to the Saudi Pro League in this season. And look, we saw Jordan Henderson come out and defend just recently his move there and saying how he felt disrespected and how it wasn't a move for money. Okay, Jordan. And it was literally something that he felt he had to defend after moving there. So I can't imagine what Liverpool fans will be feeling today. I think they'll just be hoping for the shut of the window so they can move on. But I tell you what, the Saudi Pro League It's not going anywhere.
Another managerial move as well to Saudi. John Terry is on the verge of joining Saudi side.
No
Al
way,
Shabab. He's
Stevie
gonna make his
Gerrard versus
managerial
John
breakthrough.
Terry. There you go.
What about the boy
Wow, that'd be
Riley
interesting.
the boy Riley from
Riley ain't
Middlesbrough?
going
Is he
nowhere.
going to Saudi?
Nah. No,
Riley
no.
agree?
No, I look after Riley. If there's any direct phone calls or agents that need to talk about Riley, they can come to me where they'll get us firm. How's it going, mate? And then I hang up. So, Riley's not going anywhere. He's currently busy in Dallas having the time of his life on in America.
Yeah, with Martin Boyle. Yeah.
Yeah, Graham Potter as well. I'm seeing
Sorry,
Graham
I
Potter's
It's
gone.
crazy though.
Graham Potter's gone quiet since he left Chelsea. Of course, he was at Brighton as well. He's just knocked back the opportunity to go to Lyon as well. So seems to
Love
be a
to
few.
see where he ends up. I think he's a good coach. Yep. Undone at Chelsea. All the money that was thrown at him, and I liken it to a bit like Gary Monk. Obviously not as bad as I thought Gary Monk was, but Gary Monk, after we got relegated from the Premier League, came in, tried to change the team around. Similar story to Graham Potter. I think he's a great manager. I think he did very well at Swansea and then at Brighton as well. And it sometimes doesn't work when you've got all the money. You know, some of those managers, I think Mark Hughes as well. Mark Hughes was a great manager until he went up to Man City in that first sort of moment of all that money and didn't really, succeed. I think there's some managers that kind of thrive on the lack of transfers and they get the best out of what they've got at the club sort of thing.
You talk about great managers. There's one coming on in 3 minutes' time.
Oh, there we go. Good plug. We do like it.
Yeah, Peter Reid, man. What a legend.
Well, he's an interesting character, Peter. I've met him before, and the one thing about him is he gets the North East banter. Roy Keane was the same. You know what I mean, with Newcastle fans. Another one who can have a bit of banter backwards and forwards, and that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? And obviously Newcastle fans have often sung about Peter, and he's even taken that in good spirits. But I think the last time I saw him,
the Carabao Cup as well. He's a Bolton Wanderers legend as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, last time I saw him was down at the theatre in Sunderland, the Empire. He was on stage at the back end of the Sunderland story, which was absolutely fantastic. I went there incommunicado, in disguise. I've got to say, like, I took me life in my actors in that play, but I think I was hiding in plain sight, and I managed to get out unscathed. But it was a bit unnerving when everyone started standing up in the audience singing "Wise Men Say" and anti-Newcastle songs as I beat a hasty retreat out back to the car which had the engine running. But Peter Reid was there. Fantastic to see him come along and support that play.
Got a few people to say hi to. Archie's in Clevedon, I think it's a Sunderland fan. Si in Benton, Amy in Concert, and Jeff in Cramlington all say the answer to that question was it's a goal, direct free kick. The mere fact that it was Kieran Trippier on the edge of his own penalty area who rolls it back to Popey, and Pope does his usual, which, he doesn't keep hold of it and it trickles. Actually, he doesn't touch it. It trickles into the back of the net because he was mopping sweat. Hard-earned sweat off his brow with his towel, which is hanging in the side of the net. So, no, the answer isn't a goal. I'll keep it in suspenders for a bit longer. What does the referee award? Defender, his own direct free kick outside his penalty area, rolls the back to his goalkeeper. Goalkeeper was taking a leak at the time, talking to a fan, whatever he's doing, having a fag, and doesn't see it, and the ball rolls into an unguarded net. What does the referee award? Certainly isn't a goal. Right, I think it's high time we try and get Reedy on, don't you?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right,
let's
then.
Get him on.
Yeah, let's get him on. The legend, the Sunderland legend that is. Mind you, I did see on social media last night a couple of Sunderland fans going, it didn't end very well for him, did it? Tell me a manager that it ends well with when they leave a football club. Brilliant. So much he did. Premier League, Kev Phillips, 30 goals a season, Golden Boot winner, all that sort of stuff. Reedy is coming up across the North East on the Cat, the Red and the Toon. Hopefully next.
Steve and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
The Cat, the Toon and the Red.
Okay, Maroon 5, She Will Be Loved. One man who will be loved and is loved on Wearside is Peter Reid. We mentioned earlier he's joining us this morning. Peter, how are you, my old pal?
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Yeah, good to have you on, buddy.
Hope you're well.
Yeah, look, you're in safe territory here. You've got two Borough fans and a mag, so you're in safe territory, mate. I promise you. And
to be fair to the North East, and even when I went up to Newcastle, people were always really kind. The monkey's head was a bit heavy, but you've got to go with it, haven't you?
It's all about the banter, Peter, and that's the main thing. Like I just said that before you came on air. This is Steve, the Newcastle fan. I've got to be honest, mate.
I wouldn't have believed that.
You take it in the right way, mate. You take it in the right way. We'll give you the respect that you deserve, mate, which is great. Great
exactly.
to have you on the show.
Of course.
I used to, when I went to watch Newcastle, I used to walk in. Mickey Holland, who was the masseur then. And, it was the masseur. I said, I'll go in there. The strawberry says you can't go in there. Brilliant. A few open mouths every now and then, but brilliant you were.
Yeah, I mean the banter across the North East, the rivalry, the passion is. I suppose it's the same in the Northwest, which is where you base yourself. But it is a little unique, isn't it? It's particularly that Sunderland and Newcastle rivalry.
Well, yes, and Borough as well, because I used to live down in Yarnway. So obviously you come across Borough fans. It was terrific as well. So I know a lot of people say Sunderland and Newcastle, and rightly so, but Borough did well, and obviously the time I was there, Brian Robson was in charge, and some of the players he used to sign used to go in Yarm 85, and they must have thought I was crackers looking at them with envy when they walked in. But brilliant times.
Do you remember that shoot we did for Sky, where it was you and Robbo and me? Because all I remember of it is I was laid out due to alcohol that was consumed during the filming, and you leaning over and going, Dave. That was after
the film.
That was after it all, was it? And you leaned over and went, does your Sky credit card stretch to a bottle of DP? I'm thinking, well, yeah. I mean, that's all I remember from it.
No, that wouldn't have been DP because I don't like DP.
Oh, right, okay.
No, that might have been Laurent Perrier.
Brilliant stuff. We got Macca, who's the Sunderland fan on here. For technical reasons, we can't bring him on together with you, sadly. That's only because we're Borough fans and Newcastle fans. I mean, we don't want you talking Sunderland all day. He sent us a message and said, Peter Reid was an absolute club legend. Thanks for all the fantastic memories you gave me growing up. So, come on, Peter, take us back to the time at the Stadium of Light when you were there. You obviously had the likes of Kevin Phillips winning the Golden Boot. Big Niall Quinn was in. I mean, I remember the team from Sorensen at the back all the way through. Yeah. What was it like?
Well, you've got to start somewhere, and I started at Roker Park, which we shouldn't ever forget because it was a great old stadium. But obviously, progress. You go into Stadium of Light, and you're always thinking a new stadium, can it generate the atmosphere? And yes, it did. Did the team given pleasure and happy moments? Yeah, so I think that generated the atmosphere, and yeah, it was a fantastic time. It was a really good side. Philip, you mentioned Kevin Phillips, Niall Quinn. They were a formidable partnership, but you'd had to give them delivery. I went with two wide men, which I think in the modern day football, I think it's fair to say there's not that many wingers, and there's a lot of the width now comes from fullbacks more than anything, with the change of formations and all that. But at that time, it was brilliant, and it was a good side, great support, and a really enjoyable part of me football life, if I'm honest.
Peter, I just want to ask you about the documentaries. We were talking yesterday about the Newcastle documentary, and as a Newcastle fan, I didn't really enjoy it. I give it a 5 out of 10. I just thought it was more about the commercial side and the owners, and less about the football. You did Premier Passions, which was a great watch. I've got to be honest. How did you feel about having the cameras in the dressing room? And did you feel like they were there, or did you just get on with your job? Because it seemed as if you were just so natural.
I don't know whether you've read up anything, because chairman at the time, Bob Murray, asked me, BBC want to do a documentary, Sunderland. I said, I ain't got a problem, but the dressing room is my area, and I don't want him in the dressing room. And then I think he come back a few days later. He said, well, the BBC won't do it. So I went, well, because they want dressing room access, which I can understand that. I said, well, I'm not comfortable with that. And we had a chat, because, no man's an island. And he said, well, for the club and for the publicity deal, going into a new stadium, a documentary on BBC, because don't forget, there was no Netflix and all this channels and streaming and all that back in that day. Sounds like... last century, well, it was nearly the last century.
We're all dinosaurs, mate.
Just coming into. So I agreed, but what happened then? I mean, the dressing room, most of the dressing room scenes are when I'm giving the lads a rollicking, let's say, which nowadays I don't think as a coach you'll get away with. Times change, and I appreciate that. And I can remember getting into young Bridges and young Craig Russell, and it was 0-0 at our time against Arsenal. And they were playing against like Bold and Adams, to England internationals, and these two young lads are just coming inside, and I'm ripping into them, but in a way of trying to give them confidence, but it come across a bit heavy. But we ended up winning the game 1-0, and I think it was a Tony Adams' own goal. So I think Tony Adams must have been listening to me team talk as well. But the documentary, I think the biggest thing about it, I mean, obviously, when they were in the dressing room, it was uncomfortable at the beginning, but then you start a relationship with the cameraman and things like that, So I honestly say, myself and me and Bobby, I was up in the Ramside at the weekend, Bobby Saxton's 80th birthday. And it was great to see him.
Yeah.
And we had a chat about it, afterwards, and we said, I forgot they were in the dressing room. And that's honest. I mean, no, it sounds ridiculous. I sound ridiculous saying it, but you do, because you're involved with the game. You're involved at half-time with the team talk. And it's and they got part of the furniture, if you like. At the beginning, it was a little bit strange, I'll be honest, a little bit odd. But after that, you just got into it.
Brilliant. Well, you're up in the
Peter,
North East. Go on then. Right, go for it.
Sorry, I wanted to ask. It's Rye here, the Aussie, and I wanted to talk to you, Pete, because you've had a close relationship with one of the Aussie players that we've all gone to know and love in Harry Kewell when he was at Leeds, and obviously when your time was at the club, you were forced to sell Harry, obviously to try and find the cheaper signings. And I just wanted to know a bit about that and how you found Harry as a player and connecting with probably one of the best Australians at football we've ever seen out of this country.
Well, Harry Kewell, he was out of contract. And he'd let the contract run down. Barcelona from Sir Alex Ferguson rung me about him from Man United. But if I'm honest, at the time, talking to Harry, I thought the Liverpool deal was already done. But what I remember, it was a terrific footballer. What I remember, we were at the bottom at Leeds we had a game at Arsenal. And to be fair, I played Viduka up top by himself, and decided to go with Kewell behind. So, because it was all 4-4-2, so a 4-4-1-1. And Kewell and Viduka that day were magnificent. Magnificent. And I always thought, I mean, Harry Kewell had a good career, but I always thought when he went to Liverpool, his career would kick on even more. And if I'm honest, I don't think it really did for the ability he had.
I agree. Yeah.
And Viduka was an outstanding footballer. Outstanding.
Yeah.
footballer.
No, we love the Duke. Obviously, a bit of time at Middlesbrough as well. And one of my favourites, obviously. But yeah, it was just interesting because I watched you from afar, and obviously being an Aussie footballer fan, it was back in the day. Then we used to love Harry Kewell and the Big Duke and stuff like that. So it was just interesting to see. And obviously, when you went into Leeds, it was sort of at the end of unfortunately of their poor financial state. So
I only had a few games with them, but both of them were outstanding footballers.
Well, you're back up in the North East later on today. South Shields, I've got an event on you and Kevin Keegan. You must enjoy coming back up here, dear, and the reaction you get, these sort of dues when you're close with the fans and the comments and the banter.
Well, I always enjoy coming to the North East. I've got great friends. I always go into Romano's in Cleveland and get a few down me, a few nice red down me. But overall, the atmosphere up in the North East is second to none. And Kevin Keegan is a big friend of mine. I mean, I played against him when I was a young player at Bolton. And funny enough, when he was at Newcastle United, I played against him, funny enough, a couple of times. And but great. And I'm going to visit another good friend who... Terry McDermott, fella Scouser. So I'm calling in, having a cup of tea with him. I'm going to meet up with Lee Clark. So it's always terrific when I get up that end. It's a great part of the country, even football wise. Well, it's like where I'm from, on Merseyside. It's a religion. And there's a passion about it, as you could tell when you go to all the grounds. I mean, St James's Stadium and lights, and obviously the Riverside, brilliant stadiums.
Yeah. Well,
Peter, we're talking about people cheating in sport today, and I did bring up the Maradona hand of God. I mean, that's gone down in history. I mean, what can you remember from that game?
Well, I'm not going to mention the second goal because everyone asks me about that. But the fair, I mean, I think he's tried to play 1-2 on the edge of the box, and funny enough, Stevie Hodge has clipped it back, and obviously, I was round about the area, so I seen the hand go up, even though it was sharp, and was expecting the referee's whistle, obviously, but when the stadium sort of exploded, I think there was me, Glenn Hoddle and Terry Fennick, were running after the referee, but he was Tunisian, so his Scouse language, I don't think he understood what I was saying. And obviously the goal was given, but and then funny enough, when I was in the hotel after the game, shattered, lying down, my roommate said to me, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Held up this number 10 shirt. It was Steve Hodge I roomed with over there, and it got sold last year, didn't it, for £7.4 million.
Jeez.
So I mean, hey, listen, he was a terrific footballer, but there's always a bad taste in your mouth, even that so many years later, because you've been done.
You couldn't get the shirt off Maradona, could you? Hodgie only got it because you couldn't catch him.
Well, I haven't heard that before, Dave. So really, at least you get something unique on this programme. Love it to death.
Peter, we love you, mate. We really do. Thanks for taking some time with us this morning. Brilliant stuff. Love the banter, as always.
You take care, lads. Yeah.
Fantastic, mate. Thank you.
Take care, Peter. Thanks, mate.
And if I think there were a couple of tickets left for tonight. South Shields Football Club starts at 7 o'clock. Peter Reid, Kevin Keegan, give the club a call. I think the email address is info@southshieldsfc.co.uk if you fancy going to see Peter live, Kevin Keegan live. Apparently when they get together, it is quite entertaining. Brilliant stuff. Love it. Pete, thanks once again. Fellas, well, there you go. You got it from the horse's mouth about the hand of God and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah, great guest.
And,
that's what I mean about the banter, Rye. You know what I mean? Like the banter,
Yeah.
the banter's good with Peter Reid. He takes it. He even brought the
it's
Peter Reid
amazing,
song up.
He brought it up.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
He was.
Fantastic.
What a legend. I mean, and it was interesting. I was gonna, if we had more time, I was gonna ask him because he's obviously, Bolton Wanderers, legend. I would argue, 225 games there, but he's been in around it, football since 1974, and to see, the club like Bolton and obviously the financial crisis they've gone into. When he went to Leeds United, he was, facing financial crisis, then having to sell the likes of Harry Kewell and stuff like that. And it would be incredible to sit down with, a man like Peter, just to hear, in terms of, like, we talk about, Salah going today for 200 mil. And, he comes from a club like Bolton that almost, were liquidated only a couple of years ago for their financial crisis. It's incredible the times and change of football from when he started to where he is today.
Mm.
Yeah, he speaks so well, doesn't he? And you can tell the passion in that in his voice. And it just brings back all sorts of memories when he was talking about the team that we had from, like you say, when Dave mentioned Sorensen in goal and that, and it just brought back so many memories, and an absolute club legend.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. I've got to read this, lads. Ryanair have put a tweet out today. They said, we are currently experiencing technical faults due to a large number of bookings from the Newcastle area. Also, if we could request all those calling our offices to stop singing "We're All Going to Milan," it would be appreciated. Our staff can't get the chant out of their heads.
You've made this up, mate. You've made it up. Come on. You just want to rub salt into the wound.
Genuine, lads. Genuine. All genuine.
The Ryanair Twitter. It's so good.
No, we've got about 5 minutes left. We've got the Spanish situation. Oh, go on, Macca.
Yeah, what a mess that is, isn't it? I mean, you go, Macca.
No, sorry, I was just going to make a joke. I was just going to say, I didn't realise Newcastle were in the Champions League. It's never been mentioned on the show before.
Well, obviously, Vilda was sacked, wasn't he, Rai? Vilda was sacked.
Yeah, and we've seen the head coach finally sacked, and what continues to be something we've started. We've covered pretty much from the day one of the show up until, and I think it's going to be something we cover for the next few months, because what a mess it's just turning out to be. Obviously, the Women's World Cup ending in that, in that famous, I guess, kiss now, and maybe it's something like we talk about, the cheating in games and stuff like that. We talked about, the hand of God and stuff like that. This is going to be something that is remembered for years to come. And, from the women's game, unfortunately, we see obviously the head coach of the women's team has been sacked. He was the last standing member of the coaching staff. They had all walked out after the infamous kiss, but the last man who, I guess he didn't want to go, was then forced out. So they've lost every single member of their staff. And then we've seen Jenny Hermosa as well, who has filed a legal complaint over the kiss now as well. So she's obviously now gone and filed a legal complaint, and now it's taken it legally. So, Rubiales obviously famously kissed Hermosa on the lips, and she's now saying it wasn't consensual, and he's saying it was obviously a mutual and consensual. But yeah, she's obviously now gone to filed a legal complaint over the kiss, and looking to face, he might be facing criminal charges. Obviously, he's still in the hot seat. Can't believe it. After everyone else has left, Rubiales is still currently the Spanish Football Federation president. His mum is still on a hunger strike in an attack. She feels that is at her son, that she refuses to eat until the cancel culture backs off of her son. And what a mess it's just turned out to be. And again, it continues just to be one of those terrible news stories that just overshadows what was an amazing moment for women's football and Women's World Cup. So unfortunately now it looks like it will be heading to the courtrooms and finding out if it really was a legal or illegal act.
It's just making the Spanish Football Association, or Federation, I think they call themselves, it's making them look so inept, isn't it, in dealing with what is becoming a crisis situation.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, and look, and it's, we're seeing it, we've seen it all around, and we're not going to touch on, too many other things, but we see, potentially there's some more stuff coming out of Man United. Obviously, they're under thing, with men and in and their off-field stuff. So it's incredible for women's football just to be tarnished by just one simple moment of stupidity, if you will. I think it's now time to get it into the courts because he's not going to step down. He's not going to get a resolution with Jenny outside of it. So they need to get it in the courts, and we need to get a legal finding, and then hopefully he's stood down and we can all move on, and again the women's game can move on from it as well.
Couple of minutes left, fellas. What we're going to round off with?
Well, it's incredible.
Before we go any further, I've just realised I've got to give you the answer to the question, haven't I? So,
you have.
Yep.
Defender with a direct free kick, defensive free kick, direct outside the penalty area, decides to roll the ball back to his goalkeeper, who's having a fag leaning against the post, talking to a good-looking girl in the crowd behind him. He doesn't see the ball; it rolls into an empty net. What does the referee award? We've had so many comments about a goal. No, it's not a goal. You cannot score an own goal off a free kick. The referee awards a corner kick. There you go.
There you go. It's a corner. There you go. Wow. After he goes to VAR, of course.
After it goes to VAR, because obviously it's one of those old laws of the game that nobody ever, puts into practice because it never happens. Yeah.
I wanted to touch quickly on obviously the Salah will he, won't he. It's a big day for that. We've just heard from Chris Sutton. Chris Sutton, the former Blackburn striker, has come out and said, if Salah does stay, I really truly believe that Liverpool will make a title challenge this season. If Salah does go, then Liverpool are not a chance in hell. So it's incredible that we've got some pundits out there riding Liverpool's success this season on will Salah, if Salah stays or not stays. I argue that it's not down to one man, but I asked the lads, I guess, before we do jump, is Salah really the difference between Liverpool winning the title this season, or if he goes, are Liverpool literally not going to be able to win it without him?
Yeah, I've said all along that Liverpool's midfield acquisitions and the fact that they've got the likes of Diaz and Nunez will carry them through. Do I see them as title challengers? Yes. Do I see them as title winners? No. I can't see past Manchester City. I still think Manchester City have got the golden egg in Haaland, and they've got some wonderful, wonderful players. They've made some great acquisitions. I think Man City win the league again this season. I think that the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool will push them close. I think Newcastle will be in the European positions, but I don't think they'll do Champions League. And I think Manchester United, they always carry. They may not have everything going right behind the scenes, but they always carry that little bit of luck.
What a mess.
There's only and let's not forget as well that the team that I tipped not to do well, Postecoglou's Spurs, have got off to a good start, but it's early days. There's been a few teams that have had some very easy starts compared to Newcastle's very hard start. Let's see, as Steve McLaren used to say, let's see where we're at after 10 games.
That's a Borough phrase. We need that phrase at the moment.
The table is lying.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we're the strongest team in the Championship. We've heard it all. Fellas, we're out of time. Marcus, thank you. Steve, thank you. Rye, thank you.
Cheers, lads.
Hope the shoulder's a little bit less painful by the morning,
Thank
mate.
you so much,
Yeah,
mate.
indeed.
I appreciate it.
And we'll
Look forward to coming back tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll catch you here all tomorrow. It is the North East Footy Breakfast across the North East on the Cat, the Red and the Toon. We'll catch you then.